Bar graphs. A graph of bars of equal width to show frequencies of categories of categorical or qualitative data. The bars may or may not be separated by small gaps. The feature of a bar graph shows the relative distribution of categorical data so that it's easier to compare the different categories. In example 4, we're going to construct a frequency bar graph. Now, in addition, you're going to see the relative frequency bar graph. Now, we're going to use the data summarized in the table down here to construct a frequency bar graph and relative frequency bar graph. You're going to use a horizontal axis to indicate the categories of the data, body parts, and the vertical axis to represent the frequency or relative frequency. Then you're going to draw rectangles of equal width to the height, that is the frequency or relative frequency for each category. Now, in a bar graph, the bars do not touch each other. They're different than a histogram, where the histogram does touch each other. So let's take a look here. So down here you can see that in this first bar graph we have the type of rehabilitation. Down here we have the body part going from back, elbow, groin, hand, hip, knee, neck, shoulder, and wrist. Then here's our frequency going from 0 to 2, 2 to 4, and so on. So if we take a look at back, we have a frequency of 12. So you see where back is, and we can see that this represents our frequency of 12. Okay, for the wrist we have 2, so if we go to the far right over here, you can see that it goes all the way up to 2. For elbow, it goes to 1, so you can see that the elbow goes to 1. The hip, we can see, goes to 2, so therefore that represents our 2. The shoulder goes up to 4, so you can see how that matches all the way up to 4 here. The knee is 5, so we can see that the frequency for that bar is 5. For the hand, we have 2, so therefore there is 2. For the groin, we have 1. And for the neck, we have 1. So again, there is the bar graph, and this is a frequency bar graph. Now let's take a look at the relative frequency bar graph. Okay, so you can see here that the first one represents 0.40. Okay, so you can see how this relative frequency, okay, shows that you can get that by just looking at the values of each particular bar. Now, of course, you're going to see here that this is between 0 and 0.05. We're not going to note that because when you're going to be doing this, you're going to have this done using StatCrunch, and StatCrunch is going to be able to generate this particular relative frequency bar graph.